my good friends and my terrible friends. It is once again the Doctor, Dr. Remy LeBeau, in the X Lair, here to provide you with a cure to all your terrible illnesses that you have been suffering through, you poor, poor souls, in relation to just not having enough amazing X-Men statue videos in your life. Okay? I'm very interested in providing you a cure to your ailment. The cure today is this very cool action Wolverine statue produced a little while ago. There were actually 3 versions of this statue created, and I have 2 of them. So look for the second one coming soon. Let's get a little bit of info on the statue itself first. Um, So this is number 404 of 1,000. So there were 1,000 of these made, produced in 2008. So 5 years old, and sculpted by the master himself, Mr. Randy Bowen. Yay, Randy Bowen did an amazing job on this statue. The other 2 variants are an unmasked brown costume version, which is cool. You know, it's actually not my favorite Wolverine statue, nor is it my favorite version of this statue, but it's cool and it works really well. And I have it in my 90s display, and I like it a lot. And then the third one is the original costume version of Logan, of this statue, which represents him in like this sort of. It's a very similar style to this, but it's like the mask has like very shorter sort of tips to it, like these things here, they're like a lot shorter. It just reflects the design of him in Incredible Hulk 181. And actually, there was, so down here you can see Weapon X. There was a variant of that statue done with that same costume as well. So that seems to be a favorite of Randy Bowen and Bowen Designs to produce. Personally, I don't feel a strong connection to that particular design for whatever reason, and I wind up liking the this sort of later version of the tiger stripe yellow outfit a little bit more. And it might be because I grew up reading X-Men in the 90s, during the Gimli era, during the X-Men cartoon, in which this was essentially the costume he had. So that might be why. I do love those other statues, like the versions of him in the original costume, and eventually I might end up getting them. But those, I feel like those belong in like their own displays, with maybe even Incredible Hulk 181, which I don't have. I want to get, but I had it at one point and then I got rid of it because I realized I had just gone too far with spending. But I do want to have it in my collection eventually, so maybe I'll get that and one of those original costume statues at some future point. We shall see. Okay, so the statue itself, just I love it. It's probably my favorite Wolverine statue produced by Bowen Designs. Like, there's so many great details to this statue. It's just like eye candy times a million. Like, I mean, just okay. So first, let's start with the base, because like I love that Randy Bowen like puts in a lot of attention to like the rocky bases, and like obviously he enjoys sculpting them. He enjoys like just taking time to sculpt something that's not related to comic books, that's just basically like a work of art, like a work of art reflecting just a natural landscape, setting. And so, here you have him, he's like jumping off like this like rocky sort of like edge cliff sort of base, and the rock formation is just like beautiful. It's just like it's got so much so many layers to it and so much detail, and like it could have been super simple, but I mean obviously Mr. Bowen is an artist and he wanted to sort of give it like that special artist touch, that's kind of made it something that if it were simply to be a sculpture on its own, it would have a lot of like artistic value and would be, um, something that people would want to have. So great job, Mr. Bowen, on the attention put into the and I into the base, and I love that it's designed in a way to sort of very much complement like the pose that Wolverine is in, and so just together they work really really well. I've taken a couple of close-ups of the base, so if you want to get a closer look at it, you can scroll down on my blog post um, if you're on my blog. If not, if you're on my YouTube channel, you can click on my description. I have a link to my blog, and you can find the statue there, the post on this statue there, and all the photos of it are there. Um, so it's really cool. Like he even sculpted like this branch coming out of it, which is really cool. I love when they do that. I love when Bowen Designs does that. You know, it's like they think about the setting in which a character exists and go be above and beyond what needs to be done. So again, they did an incredible job, or Randy Bowen did an incredible job on the rocky base. And then he thought, you know what? I'm gonna throw in like this branch, this like dried out branch that's kind of grown out through the rock, um, and it's just gonna give it that much more sort of like detail and just a quality that's like attractive to the eye and just represents something like a natural setting and more of a realistic way. I can't say enough good things about it, so I'll stop because I could go on forever. The base itself, really cool. Obviously, I love it. All right, let's talk about the actual statue. Like, it's just beautiful, man. Like, I mean, you can see it. I mean, this is like this is my favorite Wolverine costume. Um, I mean, here you have a cover from 1979. This is number 126, and there he is in the costume. Like this is a classic story, and with just classic X-Men designs, and of course, I mean here you have like I mean Jean's in this in her Phoenix outfit, but there you can see Wolverine in the exact same outfit. Fast forward like 15, 18 years, and here is a Jim Lee cover of X-Men Volume 2 Annual. I think is Annual number 1. And there he is again in the same costume. It's just a classic, and it's weird. It's interesting. It's an interesting choice because Jim Lee in X-Men Volume 1 number 1 had Wolverine in his brown costume, which I love too. I love the brown costume. It's really great. Um, but for some reason he went back to the yellow and blue costume. And actually, what I think it is was there was just a lot of sort of probably joint planning in the designs for both X-Men Volume 1, Volume 2, that Jim Lee started with Chris Claremont, and the X-Men cartoon of the 90s. Like, because the X-Men cartoon of the 90s came out at pretty much around the same time as X-Men number 1 came out. And so I think there was just a lot of joint planning on those two. This is the design that Wolverine had in that cartoon, so I think somehow, like, I mean, I'm sure it was a decision made by Marvel and Jim Lee and whoever was making the decisions that he should go back to this costume, which I'm happy about, because I love the costume design. The costume is captured beautifully in this statue, just perfectly. I love the tiger stripe. The tiger stripe. I mean, the stripes are they're just wonderful. They're so flawlessly drawn in and sculpted. It's just beautiful. The boots, love the boots. Just classic Wolverine boots. They come up with like the two spikes in the top. And the blue that was used on the boots and then the rest of the costume is just like such a great blue because it's not like super sort of like bright blue, and it doesn't have like that cartoony quality. It's kind of like dulled a bit, and it's good because it creates a nice contrast to like the bright yellow that you have that is kind of cartoony. But like I guess the final effect on balance of the entire design is just it's more of a subdued and like style like nicely styled um, version of this costume. So it doesn't necessarily look like over the top. It looks very sort of elegant, and I mean it's just classic sort of Bowen Designs like quality. Just making statues of characters from the comics that are that are worth the couple $100 you pay for it, and don't make us look like a bunch of grown-ups, trying to be kids. Like, these are not things for kids. Like, these statues are not for kids. They're for grown-ups. Like, I'm not trying to reposition the arms. Like, I just want to look at a beautiful representation of my one of my favorite uh, comic characters, in a way that is elegant and doesn't make me look like, again, like a big kid that hasn't grown up yet. Because I'm not. I've grown up. I have a lot of evidence to demonstrate that. My X-Men statue collection is a grown-up endeavor. I could never have afforded this as a child, and I probably wouldn't have wanted these as a kid because I wouldn't have been able to take care of them, and I probably would have I would have wanted more versatility in the actual piece itself, so I can like play with it and like move it around and put it in different poses. So these are definitely adult things, and like Bowen does a great job of sort of making the final product for adult collectors. And I mean, obviously not triple X adult. I mean like adult, like over 21, in our 20s, in our 30s, in our 40s, in our 50s. We all, us adults, know what I'm talking about. All right. So the yellow, very nice, just great, like bright yellow. I hear yellow is a very difficult thing to paint, so obviously they did a great job on that. Shading down with a little bit of like slightly orange paint, I think, done really nice. The arms, I've taken close up of the arms. They show him as very hairy from um, the forearm all the way up till the shoulders, which obviously should continue on to the rest of his body. That's as comic accurate as you can get. Wolverine's a hairy dude. He's got hair all over his body. The statue reflects that. I love that they did that. They actually drew in the hairs, and they did an excellent job. So the actual factory in China, which is where it was probably mass produced, did an excellent job of doing that. I'm glad Randy did that. Like, you have to be consistent in every element of the design if you want to have like a home run as far as like the final product that you're producing of our favorite characters. So as always, like, just kudos to Randy and Bowen Designs for taking so much care to pay attention to so much detail, in such detail, which is great. I love the gloves and sort of like the claws, and like they're kind of curved, and then you have like the three sort of, I don't even know what they're called. They're just kind of like these things that are on the top of his hand. I guess where the claws come out of. I don't know exactly what the purpose of them is. Maybe it somehow dulls the pain that he experiences from having them come out. I don't know exactly. I don't know. I don't know if it was ever explained. If somebody knows if it was explained, please feel free to contact me and let me know what the purpose of those things are. These three sort of like lined silver things at the point where his claws come out. And of course, the absolute best feature of this statue, and I think what makes it just an absolute home run, is the face. He just doesn't look. He doesn't look silly. He's he's obviously angry. He's in the middle of like a berserker type of like attack, berserker rage driven type of attack. Um, but it's not over the top. A lot of artists have drawn Wolverine over the top whenever he's like in his berserker sort of state, and it's really easy to miss the mark and just make it completely just over the top and just absurd. Um, but obviously Randy Bowen, talented, consistent, pays a lot of attention to what he does. Um, was able to have some restraint in what he did. The teeth are all perfectly sculpted and look great, and just and the lips, like the exposed like lips, the area around the teeth, just done really great. And actually, a lot of attention was put into the detail of that, which then doesn't take me out of like the appreciation of the statue to kind of notice a flaw. I see Wolverine and he looks great. I don't think I see kind of Wolverine. I think this is Wolverine and I love him, and then I just admire, the piece. So it's great. Um, so yeah, I've taken a couple of close-ups of the face and the mask, just great. Just fantastic. So soon I'll feature the other variant, the variant of this that I have, which is the unmasked brown costume version. It's basically the exact same pose on the exact same rock base, um, and he doesn't have his mask on, and it's a good statue. Not as good as this one though. I like this one better. That's just my own personal opinion. So beyond that, I think I'm pretty much done talking about this fantastic statue. I hope those that were not familiar with it have gotten familiar with it. It's obviously there are 1,000 of these. There's a lot of Wolverine statues out there, so I'm pretty sure it's still easy to find and not too expensive. So you can probably find it in the $200 range, maybe slightly less. So I definitely recommend this statue. Again, I think it's the best Bowen Designs Wolverine statue ever produced. So if you're looking for a Wolverine statue and you don't have one, um, I would get it. I would get this one. There was actually a museum pose also done of this exact costume design where he's just standing there, and it looks great. I actually have a variant of that one in the brown costume, which I'll feature in a video coming up soon. It's a nice statue. It's a little more subdued. Um, I like this one better because it's more dynamic. Either one though works great in a sort of like a 70s giant size X-Men era display of statues. I have him now with Jean as Phoenix, Sky, Cyclops, Retro Cyclops, um, Colossus, NECA Nightcrawler, which I'll feature soon, and original costume Storm Flying Pose, and Banshee. So that's the team that I currently have in a setup. I'll eventually take a snapshot of that and post my display of that. But he works really great in there. But he's definitely a great standalone piece as well. It's just really well done and elegant, as I said, and just totally worth having and lovely to look at. Totally lovely to look at. All right, folks. Thank you, as always, for checking out my blog. My blog is X-Men Statues of Future Past. .blogspot.com. My YouTube channel is Dr. Remy LeBeau's X-Lair. And as always, X in the box because ain't nobody checking me. Y'all take care of yourselves, and I have plenty more stuff coming up, so stay tuned. Bye-bye.